And I think we just touched on it a little bit here too, but what else do you see people struggling with as they move through this healing space here? So, they learn about narcissism in the beginning, toxic behaviors. They're able to recognize red flags. What do you see as the points where people can kind of struggle, like when they're trying to develop new relationships
Mhm.
or maybe boundaries, etc.? Is there any common pitfalls that you see people have?
I think a lot, like the biggest thing would be like self-gaslighting.
Oh, how
Yeah.
so?
Yeah, where it's like, you get to a certain like I do find like a bit of a pattern of a lot, like not everyone that I've worked with, but a lot of people. It's like, okay, there's the information stage where they're like learning about everything and everything resonates. And sometimes when they're in that stage and they're like so gung ho about healing immediately, they can kind of, just start off really strong and then they get a phone call from the narcissist very, very early on in the healing journey. And then it's like, they kind of fall off. And then I hear from them a year later when they're
Okay.
like, I fell for the trap.
Wow.
So there's that. Um, there's a lot of people kind of sometimes go into their healing journey with this idea of like, I'm going to heal enough so that I can keep the peace with the narcissist and take more of their abuse. And I those ones are the most interesting ones because I'm like, all right, let's try that strategy, see how it goes.
Okay.
Eventually, a couple months later, they get to the point where it's like, no, F this. Like, I am not
Mm,
healing just to take more abuse. I'm
sure.
healing and it's going so well. And I'm not gonna, I've created so much peace for myself already. I'm not gonna let this person disturb my peace, sort of thing. Some more pitfalls. I mean, a lot of I wouldn't even call it a pitfall, honestly, because healing's not even linear. Like it's just very much an up and down
Yeah.
roller coaster sort of thing. But I do find a lot of the times when people uncover one narcissist, they come to me for the one narcissist that they think they're healing from, but actually it turns out like there's another deeper layer of a narcissist. Like someone can come to me for their ex significant other, and then we're actually talking about their father or their mother who is a
Ah, very
narcissist. So it's,
common. Very common.
yeah, very, very common. So it's just, I feel like the only way to have a genuine pitfall on your healing journey is to just not bother with healing at all. Because at the end of the day, it's like you'll get somewhere. Sometimes we get sidetracked. Sometimes, we don't know where the healing journey is going to take us. But at the end of the day, it's just always better to start it because once you see something as the reality, it's really hard to unsee it. And so even if you do kind of fall back into those patterns and you fall for one of the narcissist's traps or whatever, you're going to still have that knowledge of what you previously learned. And there's going to come a point where what this person's doing is going to get old and you're going to get back on track with the healing.
Sure. Now, and when you say self-gaslight, do you think more toxic positivity self-gaslight? An example I'm
Yeah.
thinking of is there will be some people, and I think narcissistic people love to frame it this way too, but like, oh, if you think you can handle it, then you can maybe go no contact. But you see how they phrase it as, oh, you can't handle it,
Yeah.
as if there's something that you should be striving to handle and you would
Yeah.
be a stronger, better person if you were handling it. And I wonder sometimes if there's people that do that kind of thing to themselves. In fact, I know there is, where there's people that say, okay, I understand this person's a narcissist and I'm going to try to still have a relationship with them anyway because,
Mhm.
and maybe it's a family member, but I know what they're like and I can handle it. But what almost always ends up happening is they just continually put them in situations where they have to disrespect themselves
Mhm.
or they have to like torture themselves and they drive themselves insane. And it's just inevitable. Like for the severe ones, it's just inevitable that they'll do that.
Of course.
So I think
Absolutely.
the toxic positivity part is one that I think positivity is one thing,
Yes.
and like teaching yourself like some mindset tricks and tools and reframing some things is useful. But then I also think it's super important to be honest with yourself too about
Yes.
what your limits are and the balance of it. And that's the part that can get tricky for the
That's the
people
hard
that
part.
really subscribe to the like self-help guru parts like Alex Hermosi and grant it depends on what area of life you're doing it into. Some will have worse consequences than others. Like if you're doing this in business for your like work life, okay. But if this you're for your relationships and this, you might run into some more pitfalls here doing that. But self-honesty is key.
Yeah.
I think what like a Cat Williams said. Did you see that Cat Williams thing last year? He had,
Maybe.
on Club Shay Shay, he said, what was the exact quote he had said? He had said, being confident without delusional, being delusional is a real skill, or something like that. And I was
Oh,
like,
that's
yeah,
funny. Yeah.
I could see that, right? Because that's what happens to a lot of people. They'll go more into that delusional route.
Yeah.
And when they're delusional, then they wound up in these bad situations because they basically gaslit themselves.
Exactly. And the way I see it is like, if you're not able to be honest with yourself, like you're not going to get very far on your healing journey. And I think that a lot of people, and this isn't, it's not like a bad thing about anyone. Like this was true for me as well. You have to, you don't have to, but most of us, we end up getting to a point where we're just in so much pain from what we're going through that then you just reach like that turning point where it's do or die. And it's like, I don't care how uncomfortable the healing is, like it cannot be as bad as the trauma. But sometimes you have to really hit that sort of rock bottom to reach that point.
When the pain's great enough is what they would say, right? When the pain's great enough, people will do something different.
Exactly.
And the Magic Mike here says to you, I think she nailed it by focusing so much on the healing journey that you can actually block the organic flow of ups and downs. As I said, great ideas being discussed. Thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
So I totally agree with that, where people got to be self-honesty is key, and giving yourself a break that there is going to be ups and downs. It just is what it is. Part of healing will be you're not going to feel 100% every single day. If you've been in a traumatic situation or prolonged exposure to a traumatic situation, it's going to be tough sometimes, right? It doesn't have to be, but it definitely can be.
Exactly. Being a human is tough in general, so it's like you have to expect that there's going to be ups and downs. And just because it's tough, it doesn't mean you give up, because you have to. One of the quotes that still sticks with me to this day, when I first started my healing journey with like the mind-body connection stuff, Nicole Sachs, she has a podcast called The Cure for Chronic Pain. It's fantastic. And she said that life is not a choice between what sucks and what's awesome. Life is a choice between what sucks and what sucks worse. So it's like you have to basically choose your shit show in a nutshell.
I like that. I mean, and basically that's also, they're talking about spiritual bypassing too, right? The people that avoid and sweep it under the rug just to keep on
lesson
going.
From the universe.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And they'll do the turning everything into an opportunity. Now, granted, I do some of this sometimes.
Yeah.
So I try to make sure like I'm not hurting myself with it.
Yeah.
And that's where the self-honesty comes in. But other people, and I think a lot of the high performers, for example, they probably do that. They probably have some sort of trauma. And instead of dealing with it, they just go into workaholic mode. And I mean, and there's people who become very successful doing that.
Absolutely.
So it becomes difficult to really pinpoint, oh, what's so bad about this if you're getting to be into a successul place.
Until you burn out.
Yes. That, and then the issues on the back end of, how are your interpersonal relationships? How are the things that really matter? Because whether you're Alex Hormozy, do you know who Alex Hormozy is?
I've seen some of his stuff, yeah.
Yeah, he's someone like this, where I would like to have a conversation with him about this. He might not like it, but I think that's why it would be important for him too. But those are the people who stuff it, get super successful. But you see these studies where they go over like people's happiness over time. The things that make people the most happy are their connections, almost without a doubt. It's, okay, what do you regret? And what did you really like that you did? Most people regret working too much. Most people regret not spending enough time with their loved ones and the people they really cared about, not having more fun and doing more vacations. So, and granted though, I guess it's easy to say that at the end when you're looking back. But when you're in it and you got the stress of those bills and the stress of just paying the rent and all that
survival
stuff,
mode.
It's challenging.
Absolutely.
So that balancing act can be tough.
Exactly. And like the toxic positivity stuff, it's like, it's so much easier to market because like people love it, right? But like when you can't market reality and truth and honesty in
No,
a way
no,
that's palatable for people.
no. I tell you, the toxic positivity folks, those people that listen to them, they got some deep wallets.
Yeah.
They got some deep wallets because the invalidating and dismissing of the negative thoughts and feelings, second nature there.
Yep.
Oh, you can't afford it? You have a poverty mentality.
Mm-hmm.
Reach deeper. And those are the people that believe it too. And
Yeah.
granted, it might be a good business decision for some of the guys at the top there doing it that
Yeah.
can charge however many thousands of whatever for an hour.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I look at them, I'm like, wow, maybe I missed the boat here. I missed the
But
boat onto this
you're
space,
not going
but
to exploit people's trauma for profit, like,
yeah, there's no
right? So,
money to even exploit in this space. I don't think
yeah,
either. Like
no,
most people, they're struggling. Like they're struggling. They're trying to build the pieces. I wouldn't feel comfortable charging like any more than what I charge right now.
yeah.
Even what I charge right now, some people will tell me, "I know I can't afford that either."
Mm-hmm.
So I think like, man, how do people get away with charging so much
Yeah.
more? In this space, I don't think you should.
No.
Now, if someone's doing another space, okay, whatever.
Yeah.
Do you, as long as you're not hurting anybody.
Yeah. I mean, if you're providing free, valuable content, like, you can charge for your services, but I feel like there are some out there that like just overcharge quite a bit. And
Yeah, I mean, they got the Tony Robbins school of thought where they'll say, you're worth whatever you say you're worth.
yeah.
If you say you're worth $20,000 an hour, that's what you're worth.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter if you don't have any credentials or whatever.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. So, like, to me, and that's where some of the stuff, like, where's the line?
Yeah. And that's narky too, because it's like guilt, shame, and fear, right? You're making people feel ashamed of themselves because they can't afford it. And then you like dig that wound even deeper. So now it's like, now you've motivated them to go into debt for like fluffy garbage that's just wrapped in a pretty bow. Yeah.
I've seen all sorts of coaches do that to people where they say, oh, get a credit card, do this, do that. And it's like, I just wouldn't feel comfortable doing that.
Yeah.
But people do it. People do that. And I don't know how they sleep at night, but I think they just have the toxic positivity thing going for them. Oh, I'm definitely helping them, and they just have a poverty mentality. So
yeah, and it's just so narky, like it's so narcissistic, just like preying on vulnerable people that way.
I agree, and that's where it's important for the people who are not like that, I think, to call some of them out sometimes. And I do see some of that more now too. I see there's people that exclusively focus on the toxic positivity folks, and they'll say, no, we're calling it out. Or like CoffeeZilla. Do you know CoffeeZilla?
No. I need to learn all these new people.
I'll send you them. So CoffeeZilla, he breaks down like the grifters and the people who hurt people, and he does the same thing as like Spencer Cornelia. And they basically call out the people who are screwing people over, which I think is it's a valuable service.
Absolutely.
Okay?
That's so good.
The Anthony Robbins of the world would say, oh, the hate only comes from below.
Yeah.
Or all of those things that they would say. But no, they're helping people not get screwed over. So I think that's good.
Totally.
But I want to be cognizant of your time here. So where else can people find you? And what are the offers that you have for people, like with the programs, etc.?
Totally. So you can find me on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, or TikTok under Let's Get Your Shift Together. That's all one word, and that's shift with an F. And I have a few free resources. I have a free holiday survival checklist. It's a big step below the survival guide. That one is $7 if you're interested, but there is a free checklist. There's a free quiz as well that can help you understand what the next step on your healing journey is. And then I offer one-on-one coaching. I also offer group coaching. I have a 12-week bulletproof group coaching program that I'll be starting up in January. I might have the link in my link tree. I might not, but I'll put it up just in case. And I also have an affordable community membership. Is less than $1 per day to get started. There's live events each month. You can cancel anytime, no questions asked, all that great stuff. And I think that's the gist of my offerings. I also have some self-paced things like some ebooks and the guilt detox and all that great stuff. So feel free to check that out. And that's pretty much it.
I saw that guilt detox too. That was pretty interesting. And that's pretty much what we talked about in the beginning of this. And you also have a YouTube channel also called Let's Get Your Shift Together.
Yes.
Healing from Narcissistic Abuse with Adriana Bucci.
Yeah.
That's what it's called.
Yep.
So everyone should check out her channel too.
Thanks.
But